There are back-to-back events all over town, and I'm glad you could make time in Delhi's traffic today. So great to have you with us. How do we govern AI? If we kind of simplify it for the masses, CP, I start with you. Does AI even need a governance regulatory framework? Europe has done something. Other parts of the world are considering it. We are looking at various forms of, amending our privacy approach towards privacy. Does AI even need any framework of this kind, or should entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship be allowed to do its job? The mic to your right.
Siddharth, when you designed an automobile, you did put an accelerator, clutch, and a brake.
Yes.
When you designed an highway, you planned for growth in the number of vehicles that will ply on that highway. Now, would you say just the city planning is for the sake of planning, or it is part of the governance? So my personal view is, if data, which is really what AI is, and if data and machine learning, if we let it remain without any governance or without any cybersecurity, then we are exposing ourselves to trouble. You've seen it on some simple laws that have come in social media. You say, Australia says not below 15, right? I mean, you remove. Now, this is what I call waking up a little too late, but at least you woke up.
Yes.
Here we have an opportunity, as AI consumption is only touched of what the potential is, it probably touched only 1.5%.
Yes.
So wake up now and bring in the right guardrails.
Bring in the right guardrails. Umesh, as I come to you, you need to be 25 years in many domains to buy a alcoholic drink. You need to be a certain age to get a driving license. You need to be eligible to vote. There are eligibility norms for everything. The point that CP Gurnani made, very well taken. In the world of AI, and just before you came into the hall, I asked this entire hall of many students, and I asked, how many of you use AI? Every single hand went up. Is there need for any guardrails similar to the examples that I gave for the use of AI, and therefore consequently the protection of privacy and data?
So since CP has taken one side, let me take a contrarian view. My company is headquartered in Silicon Valley. We see what's happening in US and in close competition with China in terms of the pace of innovation that those countries are leading with, whether it's LLMs or GPUs or data center. And India clearly wants to be in the race. This week here, all of us are here to make sure that India is part of the race. And so, while it's absolutely necessary that we all take cognizance of protecting our citizens against a very powerful technology which could have negative ramifications, but it's a very thin line. If we over-regulate at this moment, when, like CP said, we're not only scratching the surface, if we over-regulate in India right now, we run the risk of being left behind from the two giants in AI, which is US and China. Now, should there be guardrails? Of course there should be guardrails. My company serves 2,500 other businesses that are using AI. Not one Fortune 500 company is using AI without guardrails within their own setup. It's not like White House or the US government came out with a regulation or paper. This is just common sense. You want AI to use your company's data? There has to be guardrails. You don't want a person working in HR department looking at financial data because the AI is now connected. So of course there are guardrails, of course there are architectural ways of protecting information, protecting citizens, but I think we should not get confused in that there is this big role of the government needs to protect the citizens, let's over-regulate ourselves, because the risk on the other side is that India might become colonized by US and China in terms of AI, which we don't want. And so we have to play by the rules that the leaders are running at.
Saurav, where do you stand? Two of the three panelists He spoke about guardrails. He's speaking about data colonization and the associated risks. Where do you stand on this debate?
I guess somewhere in the middle then. Between the two, right? And without the risk of being on either of the sides. I think simply put, the future of governance, for any governance, will have to be human in the lead and powered by AI. So I think the combination of human plus machine would be the right optimal combination to put in the right safeguards and to interpret and apply AI well. Where does this entire discussion about lack of authenticity or guardrails being put in place come in? It essentially comes in because there is a general sense of feeling that there could be certain bias, there could be certain inefficiencies in the data that we carry. CP hit the nail on the head when he said data is the foundation for any AI. So data can come with certain biases, certain unfairness, and that needs to be therefore checked and applied clearly. And hence, therefore, a regulatory framework with the human in the lead to make the right decisions, reverse or overrule AI systems wherever required, to apply it in the right manner is, I think, the best way forward.
CP, I come back to you. You spent 5 decades and you've seen every era, every pivotal moment in technology, in software applied services. The world that we are racing towards, and in morning panels here, the world of AI agents was discussed several times. In fact, that is perhaps going to be the future, along with so-called AGI. When both of those combine, for a country where, as I see it right now, AI is getting mass deployed, both on the consumer side as well as on the B2B side, what's the ideal framework that you would advocate to the government, the policymakers?
So let's, again, I believe in governance, and after all those decades, I still came back to set up a company called IronOz, which is really AI for enterprises. Now, and some of the products that we have developed, we're planning to launch it on my second anniversary, a product called Unistack, which is really about governance of all the AI agents that will be floating around.
Okay.
I mean, ultimately, they need harmonization. They need orchestration. You need to have somebody who's managing different sets of tools coming into play into your enterprise. Now, for a policymaker, on one end, I strongly believe that my data should not be misused. Elon Musk might say that, even if you put the guardrails, he will take it away.
Yes.
But the point I'm again trying to make out here is that data protection for an individual. I was actually surprised when the Ministry of Telecom came up with the secure application on every mobile phone, and there was this hue and cry as if government wants to control the data. I thought it was a necessity that on my mobile phone, which is a gateway to anything and everything, I mean, there should be a secure application. And we, in the same atmosphere we live in, every third day we come across a digital fraud.
Yes.
I mean, trillions of probably rupees being siphoned away by some very smart people in, the districts called Nu or wherever they are. Now, as far as I am concerned, the governance is first to protect my data, protect my savings, and make sure that anything that is available in public domain is not being misused against me. Now, I can go on in terms of policies. If you'll go and look at all the data that we have, I mean, on one end, we are very proud of 1.4 billion digital records. I mean, amazing effort when we did the Aadhaar, amazing effort when we did the GST, amazing effort when we did the DBT. Now, the second question again out there is, that is the new application that we will come up with. Is there a law that we measure the outcome, not just go away and let somebody else manipulate the data? So I think there is a framework requirement here, and that framework we could be, actually, I don't think Europe has done a great job. Europe tends to be black and white.
And excessive, perhaps? excessive regulation in
that
Europe?
they go in for extremes. My belief is that India can show the way and bring in more intelligent frameworks, more intelligent and smarter policies, and that adopts itself to the growth of AI.
Umesh, take that point forward. If we agree with what Mr. Gurnani says, that India can develop a framework and take the lead, I would add to that that in India, experience has taught me that one size does not fit all, because we are a very diverse country. If you were to take that forward, how would we be able to do it? Because the policy challenges in one state are very different from the policy challenges in another state.
So, Siddharth very rightly put that world over the experience is showing us that AI is not one size fits all. It's not just an India thing, it's a global thing. Let's take some examples. Not every use case of generative AI or agentic AI is well suited with a large language model. There's this, lot of talk in US and Europe that for specific applications such as healthcare or education, smaller fine-tuned language models are outperforming larger models, both on accuracy and big difference on cost. All right, so thinking through this architecturally, my company Uniphore provides this architecture to large enterprises where they are able to use their own data safely, fine-tune their own small language models for specific domains, and then build AI agents. Insurance companies are now processing claims using AI agents, which are powered by small language models. We're working with the Fortune 10 oil and gas major, who has 35,000 contracts and 1.5 million invoices that have to be matched. And the cost of not matching contracts with invoices is a leakage of about $1 billion a year. And now AI agents are correcting this mismatch using small language models. Now on the flip side, how do you put governance or regulation around this? Again, we don't want to burden innovation at this point. We want startups, we want students, we want universities to start innovating. We want companies, large and small, to start innovating. And again, the US experience is showing us that if there is a need for regulation, let that be centrally driven and not in 51 states in the US or over 20 states in India, because that's one recipe of stifling innovation. You burden the innovator so much with state and national regulation that they can't take the next step forward. And especially as we are so nascent, India can be the third wheel globally in AI, behind US and China, but lead in AI diffusion, AI applications, AI adoption. And for that to happen, of course we need some safety and guardrails, but we need to keep enough freedom for innovation to run very fast here.
Saurabh, I am reminded of how we have dealt with previous challenges of governance and catching up with technology, crypto being the most recent example, in a different context, really. But the point that both of our speakers made, population scale mass deployment, people sometimes don't get it. Even for the AI summit, if there are 400,000 registrations in India, because you have that population scale, there are that many people who are interested in seeing what this summit is all about. For a policy maker who is dealing with 400 million database, let's say for health, or any other database in India, and we have so many of them, what is the ideal mix? At what point does he trust a private sector solutions provider in the AI space, or does he go only with the Sarkari setup? And we have seen examples of that in the past. You yourself must have had experience there.
Yeah. Well, Siddharth, fair point. And for a country like India, and I agree with both the panelists, that we are at the cusp of really leapfrogging in the AI revolution. I think to answer it nuancedly, I'll give you an example. Accenture today has developed the world's largest AI multilingual omni-channel platform to address citizen grievances with the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances for India. When we are doing that, very clearly guardrails have been put into place to say what kind of data should come in from the consent of the consumer or the complainant, visibility to be given to the complainant to say what is the tracking of the particular complaint as to where it goes, and then ultimately what is the resolution process behind it. So essentially net-net, I am a firm believer of the fact that AI can be very well used if the ultimate end consumer or the beneficiary is given visibility of how their information is used. So consent plus confirmation. To answer your question specifically, I think the point about private sector or sovereign does not matter as much as it matters to say there are three typical entities in which AI regulatory frameworks have to operate in: sovereign, enterprise, and consumer. Right? For sovereign, the guardrails will have to be different because you're dealing with sovereign data, sovereign applications, like the one that I just explained. For the enterprise applications, as I think CP himself is working in that space, there are areas in terms of use cases in which certain guardrails will have to be put into place. And lastly, for the consumer, let us try to see if we can give the power back to the consumer to say, like for example, in your phone, there are multiple apps which take your data. How many of them really tell you what are they doing with the data and how you can therefore benefit from it? If we as consumers of AI are able to get that particular visibility to say, I'm consenting to my data, but also give certain power back to me to say how the data is being used and how I can benefit from it. In that case, that's a combination of human plus machine, wherein it can be regulated well, and more importantly, AI is being used for benefits for the larger consumer base or enterprises. If they therefore are a participant rather than just a consumer, that is where I think the game really begins.
You know, CP, on a lighter note, hundreds of millions of Indians have for years now been providing their data to social media platforms. They got virality, they got views, and many of them also were able to monetize their efforts on those social media platforms. In the case of AI, applications that reside on our phone, anything above the entry level, people are paying up. But let's turn the focus away from governing AI to AI in governance for a country of the size and issues that we have. I want all three panelists, as we come to the end of this session, to give us maybe one or two examples where you fundamentally feel that AI will make a huge difference and outperform in the Indian context in solving Indian problems.
I think it's a wonderful question because it changes the focus to output and results. It changes the focus to not saying, what the digital infrastructure will do. It changes the focus to not the number of internet subscribers to actually output. So let's take example, legal, we have a backlog of 5 crore cases. Can I use AI? And will I be able to measure the results that year on year I am able to reduce the backlog by, let us say, a rate of 30%. Number two, on healthcare, we all know National Health Mission is doing an incredible job because they're creating one of the largest health databases in the world. That the reality is that in comparison we handle COVID a lot better. That in comparison, even the, Krishna Ella's Bharat Biotech was able to create a vaccine in the record time which was designed, developed and produced in India. Now my question, if I were to relate it to an output, then I want to know, why am I the generic capital of the world? Why am I not a solution or a life sciences capital of the world? Because that's where data leads us to. Yes. We can go on, but every department, every sector, if we start measuring the output, I think we will be in a better shape.
So before I answer the AI and governance question, to your point of citizens giving data to social media platforms, I'm reminded of, when I travel to Europe these days, there is no major corporation that doesn't slow me down and say, but you're an American company. And what if President Trump one day comes out with trade policy and says we can't use you? So sovereign AI in Europe is a big topic. But you leave the room and you ask the engineers in that company, what are you doing for AI? They say ChatGPT. So they talk of sovereign AI, but they're sending all their company data to this public LLM. And so, to
No,
your point,
that's a great point. That there are some people who are debating that why should India put in billions of dollars of money, even corporations or the government. That regardless, money in India being put into doing this. But you make that brilliant point that in the world that we live in, we need this capability, sovereign
there is
capability.
there is no doubt that sovereign AI and controlling one's destiny as a country
Very important.
is very important, especially as geopolitics is getting mixed with technology. It's unfortunate, but it's a fact.
Yeah.
We all saw in Davos a month ago how geopolitics and AI were coexisting in that 1 week. But coming to AI and governance, again, think about population scale. Who is the fintech leader in the world where 40% of the global digital transactions happen in one country? That's India.
Yes.
A bank like JP Morgan Chase, which is the #1 bank in the world, has 1,600 people employed just to do anti-money laundering and compliance checks on their transactions. Imagine the scale of compliance India needs to keep all our digital transactions secure. And those are low-value transactions.
Yes.
JP Morgan has trillions
Very
of
high,
dollars of transaction. AI agents with fine-tuned models is what JP Morgan is using now at their scale. And that would be a gift to India at the scale of transaction that we are doing. Example 1. Example 2, think about the world's potentially largest health insurance scheme called Ayushman Bharat. Imagine the time it takes to file for a claim where somebody's in front of a hospital trying to file a claim so that they can get the healthcare service that they need. And at population scale, the number of people would be needed to check each claim and approve or disapprove a claim, etc., beyond a certain limit. Again, the biggest insurance firms in the world are now using AI agents with fine-tuned models to approve or disapprove claims in minutes, not hours. And at India scale, those examples, those learnings,
Right.
can really help scale what we are really set out to do, which is digitize this whole country. And I think AI is going to be a big accelerator for all those efforts.
Saurabh, the last word to you.
Yeah, the thing about the last is most of the examples have been already done, right? So I have to now think through something which is here. But I agree with the health insurance part for sure. I think final words on crop productivity and yield output in agriculture. Clearly, especially with satellite connectivity coming in, and with more powerful LLMs and AI technologies coming in, ability to therefore give a power back to our farmers in terms of looking at their data or rather their crop yields and output will be, I think, something which we can make a huge difference in.
This is a subject that can be debated endlessly, but if you've been to the summit, I noticed so many innovative ideas of entrepreneurs, Indian entrepreneurs, using something that's been developed somewhere else, but wanting it to be applied in the Indian context. And I think that's where the future lies. Each of these panelists here, experts in their own specific areas, have given us thoughts and ideas to comprehend on and dwell on. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here with us today. With that,
Thanks,
it's a
Ryan.
wrap on this set.